his sloths of the zero generation come from sloths that were rescued because they were too injured to return to the rainforest. But then all of it, you know, those are not ever sale animals. That's just more blood into the generation zero. But these are generation, I don't know, probably 8 or 9. So these are, and I always try to give a disclaimer at some point during a sloth encounter that the fact that you see us here petting, holding, touching sloths does not mean it is a good idea that you should go and buy a sloth. Absolutely do not do that. Rule of thumb, if you paid less for your sloth than you did for your car, you are buying a sloth that was kidnapped out of the rainforest. That is an unethical, amoral thing to do. And not only, you know, I morally, ethically have a problem with it, but the animal is extremely unlikely to survive in your care. It is similar to a house cat or a feral cat. If you take your house cat and you throw it out into the forest, it will be short. If you take a feral cat and try to have it live in your living room, it will be ugly. Same way, these are not wild-caught sloths. And I am not aware of any ethical breeder that will sell a captive bred sloth to a private individual. So that is why the guy who breeds these doesn't like me to name his name on lives, is he does not want his phone ringing.
Oh, yeah, actually, so right off the hook,
It would.
unnecessarily.
Well, to get a sloth from this particular guy, you know, you need to be USDA licensed, which is the same licenses that a zoo has. And you have to have a vet who has some familiarity with sloths, even though he's going to be involved for the rest of your sloth's life. But we'll have at least the good sense to call him and say, hey, you know, I have a question, and he'll be happy to answer it. And you have to prove that you could feed every animal you own for 2 years if you had no income. And you have to prove that you have experience with sloths, which is why my first sloth did not come from him. And the laundry list is long. He's not going to sell a sloth to very, 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 very few private individuals, because most people aren't going to go to the effort to get licensed as a zoo because they want to have one pet sloth.
And do you name all your animals here, or do you enlist the public's help with that?
Sometimes there's an online naming contest, sometimes there's not. So like, let me think. Zoe was named by online. Flash was named by online. Dash was named because it, you know, goes with Flash. And our next baby is Chloe, which goes with Zoe. So we'll have Flash and Dash, Zoe and Chloe. Tom and Jerry, the 2 littlest baby kangaroos, that was online suggestions. And there were a lot of really good suggestions for those 2. It started out Ben and Jerry, but they chase each other around so much like Tom and Jerry that they became Tom and Jerry. And there was Tango and Cash, and there was what were some of the other good ones that people suggested? I don't even remember.
The llama one's good, Llama Del Rey.
Oh yeah, the llama down there, Llama Del Rey, she was an online name. Tyler I named because it's a boy alpaca, and dude looks like a lady, so you know Tyler like Steven Tyler. You know, I was an 80s teenager, you know. Born in '69. And Ed and Abu were named a decade before we had them. We call him Boo Boo because he's sweet and goofy and sort of a dork, but Ed and Abu were named before we got him. And Gary and Gertrude and Gwendolyn, my wife, named. Those are the 3 annoying geese outside. The swans are not named. I guess we ought to name the swans, but I can't tell them
Happy to
apart.
tell them apart.
Yeah.
Geese hang out all winter.
Say what?
The geese hang out all year.
They don't ever leave. They their wings are not trimmed. They're welcome to leave if they want to, but they are critically endangered, so we don't like run them off.
Yeah.
But the Canadian geese out there are the same. They're wild. Well, the American buff geese are not wild. They came here from the guy who was raising them, and then his dog took to killing them. So we had 11, and when he got down to 3, he brought me the 3 that were left before they all got killed. But I just got a picture the other day of where swans do the hearts with their heads thing.
Perfect.
Yeah, they really do that. A lot of people don't know that they actually do. It's not just a Disney thing. This guy weighs 2 pounds, so obviously he doesn't eat anywhere near as much as Zoe does, but he takes his time at it. So both of these two, all 3 of these, are Linnaeus two-toed sloths. Alive in the world today, there are 2-toed sloths and 3-toed sloths are the 2 main divisions. There's a big move to start calling them 2-fingered and 3-fingered because it is more like they have hands than feet, and they all have 3 toes on the back feet. 2-fingered have 2 on the front, 3-fingered have 3 on the front. There's some subspecies of those. These are Linnaeus 2-toed sloths. In the 2-toed, there's Linnaeus and Hoffman's. And there's some other divisions in 3-toed sloths, but I don't have any, so I don't necessarily even know them. Other differences between 2-toed and 3-toed. A 2-toed has 5 vertebrae in their cervical spine between their skull and their shoulders. A 3-toed has 9 in their cervical spine. So a 3-toed is going to turn its head 270 around like an owl. A 2-toed does not. A 3-toed has 3 vertebrae of a tail. A 2-toed has no tail. So the missing 4 vertebrae from the cervical spine and the missing 3 vertebrae from the tail are between the hips and the shoulders of the 2-toed sloth. So the 2-toed sloth turns his whole body. If this is shoulders and this is hips, they turn their whole body till their hips and shoulders can be 180 out from each other. So they're a lot more like a slinky, and the 2-toed moves its body more like an owl. Sorry, the 3-toed turns its head like an owl, not the 2.
They're from different parts of the world, or
No, they live in the same forest.
same forest,
The 3-toed, their arms are 1.5 times the length of their whole body. 2-toed are about the length of their body, but they're very, very similar animals. 2-toed is a little bit bigger and a little bit quicker. See how far his hips and his shoulders are apart right now, and he's just chilling. A 2-toed is a little bit bigger and a little bit quicker than a 3-toed is. But overall, 2 and 3-toed sloths collectively are the world's slowest mammals. So to describe a 2-toed sloth as quicker than any mammal, you could only be talking about a 3-toed sloth. And not sprinters by any stretch of the imagination. But if you read online resources, it would suggest that a 2-toed sloth is capable of 12 feet per minute, even in the trees. I have seen these sloths move much, much quicker than that. The big guy in there, his room is about 25 feet high, and he can make it from the absolute top down through the door and onto this bar in about 30 seconds. So that would have to be more like 40 feet per minute.
what he wants to.
Yeah. I don't know why he's not down yet this morning. Usually all these smears on the glass are on his side where he's got his nose in the glass saying, hey, it's time.
Right, he'd be.
Hey, Bubba, wake up. Flash. Hey, Flash, are you gonna come see us? This is his arm sticking out of his hand. Hey, Flash. Good morning, baby. He's having a lazy day.
It's a lazy rainy day.
So how many years have you guys been open?
I have lived here for 5 years. We started the farm thing about 3 years ago, and we opened to the non-lodging guests in February of 24. Before that, you had to be staying here to do anything here. But, honestly, our animals were sitting around bored because there were never any people here. So it's a fine line. I don't ever want to be a zoo with crowds of people running around. It's not my thing. But, we do at some point want to break even, You can look around and tell that there's some significant investment into this place. At some point, it would be nice to recoup some of that. But I was enlisted my first 10 years in the Navy, so I could not afford to take my family to do anything. So now that I'm a little bit on the other side of that, we try very hard for our prices to be as low as humanly possible, so that normal human beings can come to make memories with their family. And the only reason that this experience that you're doing, Sloth Keeper, is expensive is because I closed down all the other sloth experiences for the day. So, you know, I'm not making anything more than I would on any other day. We just are closing down everything else on a day that somebody wants to do Sloth Keeper of the day, because it's a unique lifetime experience.
So was this your idea or your wife's to start this?
I don't know, combined.
Joint thing?
It's all organic. At the start, when I moved here, I was an apartment landlord. I owned apartment complexes, and COVID was a very, very bad time for that to be you. Be surprised to know when the federal government tells people they can't get evicted for silly little things like not ever paying any rent at all. They don't.
Take advantage of
And it can affect your view of humanity when you drive through an apartment complex. You go in and there's a brand new car in every parking spot, brand new car sitting in the grass, and nobody's paying anything at all. So I got out of that industry, and then my daughter, who was supposed to live in the cabin down at the water, is a professional musician who can't be bothered to live in one place. And she's like, Dad, why don't you just put it on Airbnb? And I'm like, Air what? And she's like, B&B. I'm like, I ain't cooking any breakfast for anybody. I mean, no. And so she explained to me the way that worked. And my wife is a night owl, and so she was like checking out Airbnb's website in the middle of the night one night. I think it was just before Mother's Day, 3 years ago. And you have to answer every question to see the next screen. And she's just like one word answers on everything, like put up a picture of your place, and first picture on her phone was me standing on a ladder screwing in light bulbs 20 feet up in the ceiling of the cabin. And that's the picture she put up. And at one point she got tired and just clicked save and went to bed. And she did not know that when she clicked save, it made it live, and that was at like 3 a.m. of that day. And I get up at 7. 7 o'clock is Bible, 7:30 is hot tub and Andrew Womack. And I'm sitting in the hot tub and my phone is just da-ding, 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 da-ding. And it's so-and-so about your place, so-and-so about your place, so-and-so about your place. And my wife gets up about 9. I'm like, what is all this so-and-so about your place? I have no idea what this is about. And she says, ooh, welcome to Airbnb. She did not realize, and one of them was checking in 3 days, and the cabin wasn't furnished. I mean, the picture of me on a ladder, that was all there was in there, was a ladder.
Wow.
And so that was 3 very busy days. And we've been doing it since. And as that went along, you know, somebody would be like, hey, can we ride your horse tonight? I don't care, you know how to ride a horse, go ahead. And another person would be like, hey, can we ride your kayaks? Go ahead, and, you know, drive you up the river and you can float back to here. Because you can get in up there at Dam 1 and float straight back to here. This is the only concrete boat ramp. Oh, there's 2. It's the first concrete we come to after Sugarloaf Park. And then, you know, the cabin was like just solidly booked. And like, well, what if we put a couple more things out there? And I really like the idea of tree houses. And you know, I used to love to watch Treehouse Masters, and
Sure.
and then after I called them, I'm like, so I need to figure out how to build a treehouse, because with those are very, 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 very pricey structures. They say that the minimum for any treehouse is $500,000, and that's just for one room treehouse, $500,000. And but I am a Class A contractor, so how hard could it be? And I want the tree houses to be genuinely swinging in the trees, which makes them desperately hard to plumb. So I built the bathhouse first, and then put in the last piece of ridge cap on the bathhouse under a clear blue sky. It's just started to rain, and I'm staying on top of a tin roof in the rain. And I'm like, get off the roof, whoop. And I caught myself going off the edge like this. And I'd have been much better off if I'd have just fallen to the ground instead of catching myself. But that just completely ripped out my rotator cuff and labrum and all, you know, just, it was a mess. And so then I was not climbing trees for a while, and never have since actually. And so we had the finished bougie bathhouse that I lived in an RV for a year and a half, so I've seen bathhouses well and bathhouses poorly. We were trying to build an upscale kind of place, so they're nice. And so I have 4 bathrooms in a bathhouse and nothing that can be rented with it, and you know, have been hemorrhaging over the whole apartment thing. So my wife got on looking for tiny houses, and she's like, well, that's kind of stupid, they all already have a bathroom, I mean, how's that helpful? And then she happened to cross those covered wagons down there. And after we put the wagons down there on water, the rest is kind of history. It just exploded after that.
Wow.
And so when we were still doing primarily Airbnb, which now we do primarily through our own website, because Airbnb's fees are up to like 16% on the renter side and 15% on the renter side. So 31% overall. And so yeah, so that's why we started our own website. But the last year that we were primarily Airbnb, the bandwagon down there was the #1 thing in the state of Tennessee on Airbnb. And so it's been popular, and it's just grown from there. And then after my wife visited Oklahoma City and went to a safari drive-through thing in Oklahoma City, she was in love with camels. And then once the camels came, it all kind of went a little bit nuts.
What's the most you paid for an animal?
A lot.